What's up guys, Peter here from Reviews on Anything, and today we're doing a little comparison video. In an earlier video we looked at this belt. This is the everyday carry gun belt from a company called Core Essentials. It's a very nice belt and we quite liked it in that video because it offers quite a lot of extra performance over standard belt. Obviously designed to carry a small handgun, but also if you just require more from your belt, if you're a particularly large person for example, this is a really nice and flexible belt that's both stylish and very functional. Obviously though, they're not the only player on the market. So I got two more belts right here that are actually designed for the same kind of purpose. Small carry, handgun, concealed carry so you will, or just more performance from your everyday regular belt. They're from a company called Anson and Nexbelt, and they're very similar proposition, very similar closing mechanism, and very similar sort of features and promises on what they will deliver. Obviously though, the three are similar on paper, but in practice they are quite different. So we're going to take a close look at all three of them and judge on different categories and see which one is the overall winner. Alright, let's cover the basics first. Like I said, these belts are very similar on paper, but in practice quite different. And you can already tell one of the main differences when they're just laying here like that. But let's cover the similarities first, because that's the same for all belts pretty much. So looking at this belt from Core Essentials, you can see that the buckle is nice and solid and it's interchangeable. It's something that they all share. The Core belt and the Nexbelt, they actually have a sizing system written here on the inside of the belt. Hope you can see that properly on camera. Which is where you can cut your desired length and then you move the buckle obviously to the new end of the belt and you have your custom fit. The weird part is that the Anson belt doesn't have anything in terms of sizing, so you sort of have to put it around and guess. But then again, you can still remove the buckle and put it at your desired length. So slightly less elegant I suppose, but that's the way they do it. So all three belts share sort of their custom sizing experience, albeit in slightly different ways. They also all share a similar closing mechanism. Hope you can see it here again on the Core belt. We did a dedicated part about it in the video about this belt. It works a lot like a zip tie. So you can see the track here, what they call it the track line. That obviously goes into the buckle and you can hear it click already. That's how you close it. Then there's a little lever here that you can press to open it up again, and that's your sort of daily custom sizing. Fits any size really after you cut the belt on your desired size. This is sort of your fine-tune adjustment. And the other belts have a similar system. The last thing that all these belts share is their sort of adjustability in terms of style. All of them have sort of various buckles available, various colors of the belts even, so you can really mix and match what you want out of the belt and out of the particular style of the belt. They're obviously aimed at everyday carry, like I said, so small handguns, concealed carry and so on. But these belts are also meant for people that demand just more performance from their belts. So you can imagine if you're, for example, a particularly large person, you carry a lot of gear on your belt, like flashlights, walkie-talkies, that kind of stuff, but you still need to look stylish, then look no further. These belts all have considerable style, I think, considering the performance that they house inside of them. And going back on what I said earlier, you can already tell a big difference in the performance of these belts when they're just laying like this. You can see that the Anson belt and the Nexbelt stay rolled up nicely and the Core belt doesn't. That is obviously because of the stiffness of the belt. Now, of course, I can roll this up because it does come rolled up in the packaging. But as soon as I let go, it springs open. So that already tells you basically all you need to know about the stiffness of this belt. It is a seriously stiff belt. Alright, the inevitable crotch shot part of the video. Let's have a look at the belts individually. We're going to start with the Nexbelt. Key here is that the track line is red. It's very exciting. Hope you can see that on camera. The inside is also lined, it's not with leather, but with a sort of PU waterproofing material. They say to prevent erosion or damaging the leather by sweating. Not really sure why that is, because you're not going to sweat through your pants. Sounds to me more like a way to not have to put leather on the inside. But, that's what it is. And you can see the markings that I showed earlier for the sizing here on the end. Obviously the buckle is interchangeable. You pull the little pin and the buckle comes off. They have a bunch of different buckle styles as well. This one in particular is very shiny. So I've got the belt on, as you can see, with the two ends, and we're going to listen to the clicking sound of the belt, because obviously that is an indication of the quality. You can hear that when I rattle the buckle, it rattles a little bit, and when it clicks, kind of a light click. I notice here obviously that the rails here are not that long. Obviously the ones on the track belt that we'll see in a bit is much longer, which means you have to cut your sizing more precise. In practice, you know, this is going to be fine because once you cut your desired size belt, you don't need adjustability from here to there, technically speaking. But it is nice to have, and it also you know, allows you for a bit more wiggle room, so to speak, in terms of cutting it. But overall, putting it in, it clicks in place, goes through your loop, and off you go. The style obviously is a personal choice, but I think you know, on the outside here it looks pretty decent, and it has the little lever here on the bottom that you squeeze and then you can undo it just like the other belts. Moving on to the Anson belt. First thing that stands out here is the extra loop on the buckle, which I think is a nice touch to make sure that the end tip of your belt always stays where it needs to stay. The closing mechanism feels slightly more flimsy than the Nexbelt before, but the actual lever is slightly larger, so that is, you know, a thing. Like I said, no sizing here on the inside, so you have to sort of put it around and guess and then cut, I suppose. Not much of an issue, but I think it would have been a bit more chic if the sizing at least was written in there. The belt itself feels pretty solid. The same thing here with the rail system and the clicking here in the buckle, and the buckle is again interchangeable like the other ones. Now, same principle, putting the belt on. Let's wiggle the buckle first. You can hear nothing going on there, which is actually a good sign, nice and confidence inspiring. This particular finish, you know, obviously personal preference aside, I think it looks kind of nice, but it will scratch soon, I think. Putting the belt in is the same principle. Very tinny click, but everything going well. Put in my first hole and all is good here. Nice and stylish looking belt here as well. Can't really go wrong with a black belt, I think. And you know, overall it sits nice on the pants, I think, and nice on the hips. Overall stiffness is not too bad either. So, you know, everything going well here. The lever here is a little flimsy, but a little bigger. Sound is okay, I suppose, and it works just fine. The track here is also not as large as the one on the Core Essentials. Same problem as with the Nexbelt. You know, you have a little less adjustability. In daily life though, it isn't really going to make that much of a difference, unless you share the belt maybe with other people. I'd say though, in general, it is nice to have a bit more flexibility also in terms of how you cut it. So last but certainly not least, the Core Essential EDC gun belt that we like so much in that other video. Certainly the most stiff belt here, and also the belt that smells the most coming out of the packaging. It really smells like leather, which is something I personally really like. The buckle, super simple, super efficient, makes no noise whatsoever when you shake it, so that is definitely a good thing. Inside the belt we have the sizing, angle it properly, so you can cut it on your desired length. And like I said, in the other two belts, the track here, where you actually adjust it, is much bigger. If I put the Nexbelt next to it, on the same starting point, you can see, hopefully, how much longer the track actually is. Which is nice. Like I said, you know, in daily life, it might not make that much of a difference, but it gives you just that much more adjustability. Also when you wear it with different clothes maybe, or if you share the belt, or maybe if you lose or gain a lot of weight, you know, it's good to have that adjustability in the belt, because once you cut it, obviously it is cut and you can't change that anymore, so it's nice to have the adjustability on the other side. Now, same principle here, again, putting the belt on. Obviously one end and the other have to go inside. Let's put it in and listen to the clicking sound. In the loop. Personally, I find that sound much more solid sounding than the other two, if that makes sense. It sounds, you know, a lot more like an industrial thing, much more confidence inspiring if it purely comes to the sound. The buckle feels not too big, but still nice and solid, and the closing mechanism is also sounds much more solid than the other two. There's no wiggle or anything in the lever here either for releasing the buckle, so that is also a nice thing. And overall it just feels more like a solid belt. It's not only stiffer, it feels slightly thicker, feels like it can handle more weight than the other two. So conclusion time. Let's have a look at these belts one by one and name the pros and cons and actually come up with a winner. We'll start with the Anson belt here. Clean design is the theme here. Very clean buckle, no markings on the inside, which is questionable. I think it's nice to have a little help, and since nobody sees the inside side of your belt, you might as well help your customer out there. Small track here for the closing, relatively speaking, of these three, and overall, clean look, but maybe a little too clean. Out of these three, it's also the cheapest, and I think it is the one least up to the task. Remember, these are everyday carry belts, designed for handgun carry, concealed carry, or extra load, whether that's if you're a big person or walkie-talkies carrying person or whatever that might be. And I think this belt just doesn't offer enough over a standard belt. It's maybe a little stiffer, maybe a little thicker, but not noticeably like, oh, I have something totally different. So I think of the three, this one is the one least sort of suitable for the everyday carry, handgun carry situation that they're designed for. Then we have the Nexbelt. Much more up to the task, much thicker and certainly much stiffer than a regular belt. It feels much more heavy duty, which is exactly what you want from a belt like this. Confidence inspiring from the word go, and overall I think a quality piece of kit. Not cheap, but certainly if you want something that will last, this will work for you. The buckle is a bit rattly, I don't like that. I don't like the red track either, I'm not really sure why that has to be red. And I'm very unsure about that non-leather on the inside, because you don't need to soak up sweat for an everyday carry gun belt, I think, and you're not going to sweat through your pants onto your belt anyway. And by the way, it's a leather belt, so it can handle a little sweat, no problem. There's nothing really going wrong with this belt, but there's nothing really standing out either. So overall I think it's a solid choice, but that leads us to the winner of today's test, which is the Core Essentials belt. So the EDC gun belt by Core Essentials is easily the most high performance belt here. It's an everyday carry gun belt in every sense of the word. It still looks luxurious and it feels luxurious and it smells luxurious, but it is a very high performance piece of kit. As soon as you take this out of the box, you know that this is not your everyday belt, but it's something that has performance in mind and performance to spare. It's by far the stiffest, both in length and width. You can't compress it, you can step on it and you will seriously hurt yourself. It's that stiff actually in the width of the belt as well. And this is a belt that can seriously handle some heavy loads. Whether that's your handgun, your concealed gun, flashlights, walkie-talkies, doesn't matter. This belt will carry it no problem. It's durable, it looks good, like I said, it has all the features that you want in terms of practicality, with the sizing stripes, with the removable and interchangeable buckle, and with the extra long track that the others for some reason don't have, where you just have more adjustability, so you can do more with the belt. Whether that's gaining or losing weight, or maybe having to wear the belt over a lot of clothes suddenly, you just have more flexibility with this belt. No pun intended with the fact that this belt is so stiff and therefore not that flexible. It's not cheap, certainly not, but if you demand performance from your belt with a stylish look, this is certainly the way to go. The other belts are decent alternatives, but if it is performance you want and the best performance, then I'd say this is the winner of today's test. This is Peter from Reviews on Anything with a look at 3 belts in a similar category with similar specs but with a different end result. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let us know if you want to see more comparisons like this. Please subscribe to the channel as well, that always helps us out a lot, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Cheers!